This is a news flash.
Hello, I'm Leonardo Puglisi. You're back with 6 News Live as we continue our coverage of this historic event, the death of Queen Elizabeth II. An historic day, as we've been covering earlier this morning in our 9am Eastern Bulletin and in our 10am Eastern Live coverage, and right throughout the night as the news broke overnight. We've been covering a lot of developments. We do have a pretty significant new one, though. It's coming up very shortly. We're expecting the Governor-General, David Hurley, to address the nation about this. We had an address from the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, I should say, earlier this morning. But David Hurley should be speaking very shortly. We will bring that to you live. But for his analysis is 6 News contributor Stuart Jeffrey, who has been monitoring this very closely on what is, I'll repeat it, an extraordinary day. Stuart, first of all, what did you make of the news? Because were you up when it was announced, or did you actually wake up to the news?
Hey mate, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here, although I wish it was under better circumstances. No, unlike you, I did not pull an all-nighter. No, I woke up to hear the story and was as shocked as everyone else was, although we did have some inkling of it last night. We did have, of course, have the Prime Minister leave Parliament, and then Labor and the SNP were made aware. So there was some inkling last night, but no, I woke up to it this morning hearing that she had passed away overnight.
Yeah, exactly, and I think the only inkling was something was obviously wrong health-wise, and people could speculate, obviously, but we don't get the proper confirmation for a while. Look, let's remember how long. She's obviously 96 years old, but she's been on the throne. She's been the Queen for 70 years, which is just extraordinary. And Stuart, I reckon you might use this word, even if it's a bit overused in the media, unprecedented, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, that is probably a pretty accurate word to use. She's definitely the longest reigning British monarch or English monarch. I think she's second longest overall, only beaten out by the great Sun King Louis XIV of France.
Yeah, so biggest ever in the UK, second biggest ever in terms of time span. There's a lot of things that are undertaken as a result of this, and we are currently in, from what I've heard, it's a bit of a national observance, not mourning. The UK just entered a national period of mourning. I think it's for several days, maybe 10 days, 15, something like that. But the amount of protocols and the amount of planning that has gone into what happens when, the Queen or the King dies is just absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, look, I think I'm actually quite impressed that obviously she knew she had to swear in the new Prime Minister, so I'm wondering if she made sure that she was able to at least do that, because imagine if she had passed away this time last week, you would have had a new Prime Minister being sworn in by a king who hadn't even had his coronation yet, and that'd be just a complete logistical nightmare with a new Prime Minister and a new monarch. But fortunately, Elizabeth managed to swear in the new cabinet and the new Prime Minister before she passed away.
And I was going to say, yeah, that was interesting, because I was going to ask about that, but you seem to give a definitive conclusion. I saw some rumours and some claims that if she had died like right before Liz Truss was supposed to be sworn in, and Charles didn't have his coronation, they'd kind of be in a limbo situation here, because I also remember seeing reports that when Boris resigned and there was a big delay because of like weather or something that stopped Liz Truss from getting, from meeting with her, the Queen had full executive power at that point. So it's really odd. Do we have anything like that in Australia at all? I know we've got the Governor-General, of course, but where you can have the Governor-General being the Queen's representative or King's representative now, just taking executive power while we wait for some kind of handover. Is that UK only, from what you know?
Yes, I would say that's probably the UK only because of the setup they have there. fortunately, we've got the governor, especially in modern times in Australia, the Governor General. And if there's something happens with the Governor General, you've got the British monarch who can then step in, or the Lieutenant, or obviously the Prime Minister as well. And I think there's also a Lieutenant Governor General as well who could also step in if need be. So we do have the advantage of having the Governor General and the Queen, whereas the UK only has the Queen, or I guess now the King.
And do you reckon it's going to be a bit hard getting used to saying the King here after saying the Queen for, well, both of our lifetimes entirely, and I would say majority of the global population's lifetime? It's just been the Queen, and people know who that is.
Considering you just introduced the Prime Minister as saying Scott Morrison, I think it will take a while to get used to for everyone having a king after 7 years of having the Queen Elizabeth II on the throne.
It's truly extraordinary. Now the other thing is, I also wanted to bring up something regarding some Liz Truss comments. I reckon you might have seen some old comments from her back when she was a Liberal Democrat. She was pretty anti-monarchy then, wasn't she? I mean,
yes,
it was quite an extraordinary position compared to what you see her a few days later. She's out there with the Queen, and then a day after that or so, she's paying tribute to her.
Yes, look, I'd say that she's probably the most Republican Prime Minister of the UK we've had in a while. I can't think of many who had the similar approach before they became Prime Minister. But definitely her Lib Dem history and that means Liberal Democrats, different party in the UK to Australia, very different.
Yes,
but
yeah,
she does have that more Republican background.
Yeah,
however, it is good to see that she's putting aside her political beliefs, whatever they may be, and is showing unity with the rest of the government on this topic. Because we don't know if her views have since changed when she became a Conservative MP and obviously Prime Minister. But whatever her personal beliefs are, she has to maintain a good front in the government.
Now, we should do stress that the Liberal Democrats in Australia and the Liberal Democrats in the United Kingdom are very different parties. But look, I think those comments they were pretty interesting, and strong. But excuse me, as you said, some unity and definitely there. You mentioned the Republic push over in the UK. Now, what about here in Australia? We have had calls already to become a republic. Not even 12 hours after it was reported that she died. Have you seen much of that across social media, especially Twitter today? Because I think that's the only thing being discussed on Twitter, the Queen's death.
Okay, look, as radical as this position is, let's just imagine right now that Scott Morrison somehow did a magic trick and he won the election back in May. And then the Queen still died as she has now. I don't believe we'd be moving towards being a republic because the Liberals tend to be more traditional in that sense, whereas having Prime Minister Albanese already have an assistant minister for the Republic means that we have that set up right now where we could see a transition away towards being a republic now that Queen Elizabeth is dead. Because you have to remember that she's been on the throne for 70 years. England hasn't had, or Britain hasn't had that many female monarchs, but the ones that they have, Elizabeth I and II and Victoria, they are the first, second, and fourth longest reigning monarchs in the UK. Only George III is the only guy in the top four, and he came in third. So having such a solid leader for so long meant that the Republican movement could never achieve anything she was on the throne. But of course, now that we have Charles there instead, and I think everyone will agree that he's less popular and more of a controversial figure than the Queen is, that there may be stronger calls to become a republic. And I think that we do have the situation in Australia politically where that is more acceptable than it would be, say, even in the 1990s when we had the referendum back then.
I might add, of course, in terms of Liberals, on Malcolm Turnbull, obviously. I think there's that great vision of him against Tony Abbott back in the day, debating this topic, and who knew they'd be debating each other again for the Liberal leadership. And we all saw how that turned out, those Liberal years. Back when they were in government. That's weird to say back when they were in government. It was May. They were in government back in May. But yeah, I think definitely because Albanese's definitely been pushing that Republican push. We've had a special minister to the Republic or setting up a Republic or something along those lines as well, which is, it's a first. It's quite extraordinary. But then he's also going and doing things, I think, like naming a river or a lake after Queen Elizabeth. It's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to some of what he's done, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I'd agree with you on that. But the naming landmarks after the monarch is a bit different. That's definitely more symbolic. It's easier to rename a place.
It's not exactly uncommon either.
Yes, and like if you want to go there, well then you have to rename Victoria and rename Queensland.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, Queen Victoria certainly has a strong legacy in terms of Australia, given two states are named because of her, your state and mine.
Exactly, and I think that naming conventions is definitely way down on the list of issues to discuss with becoming a republic. I think the more important thing to work out is, okay, let's say Albanese agrees to push being a republic. You've then got two referendums within the same term of government, for the voice and then for this. What happens with that? And does Albanese put the voice to the side, and instead of doing two separate ones, does he include the voice in the new referendum to become a republic? So I think that's going to be a question that the government has to face over the coming months, is how do they approach the idea of having two referendums in the same sitting parliamentary term?
Yeah, and that's just if we do get one, because I remember and actually saw an old news report today that spoke something about, if we want two referendums, put the one regarding a voice to Parliament first, is what some people were definitely pushing. But we'll have to wait and see there. Look, I mean, reaction is continuing to flood in. What have you been seeing on Twitter much? Because there's the people being respectful, and then there are the people who are mocking it. I'm trying not to swear here. The people completely mocking it. You've got the jokes. Got the Irish who've been trending all day. Well, what have you been seeing on your feeds at least?
Yeah, look, as someone who is Irish, I have been seeing a lot of that on Twitter today. A lot of the trolling and a lot of the criticisms of the monarchy, and at the same time, people coming out against them and saying, okay, we need to be respectful here. So it's Twitter. In social media, it's one of the worst platforms out of all the social media platforms. So definitely pretty toxic environment over the next few days.
Absolutely. And look, Twitter's Twitter. Twitter will be Twitter. You can say that. I mean, I think, and the other thing is also, definitely it's been interesting to see what some people who are pro Republican movement have been saying, because they have gone out and they have said things like, I don't, support the monarchy, but I respect someone who's been doing that for 70 odd years, and just those kind of general vague comments. But again, it's still some level of support there. Although I imagine
if I can just comment on that,
no, go ahead.
On that point right there, I think there's a distinction between Queen Elizabeth herself and the monarchy. People are seeing this around all my life because their popular she's been that we're going to see, as I've said, a call for republicanism over the next few years. So I think it's like on one hand it's the death of the Queen, but on the other hand it could be argued as being the death of the monarchy as a whole rather than just the Queen herself and what the bigger institution that she represents. So I think there's an important distinction to draw there.
Absolutely. Let's just bear with us, Stuart, for a second. Let's just have a listen to some of what two people have told us. We've done some vox pops on the street. Our political reporter, Roman McKinnon. We just want to hear from Aussies what they think of this, whether they support a Republican movement. Stay with us, Stuart. Let's roll that clip.
So, yeah, sadness, but everything comes to an end sometimes.
How do you feel about Prince Charles taking over the role?
I sort of believe in an Australian Republic. Yeah. It's historical that he'll take over, but the way it goes, I suppose. Yeah.
So, do you think that Australia should become a republic?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what did you make of this news?
That was very sad. I've known her, all my life. She's been the monarch for 70 years or something. So I always thought that she was going to live forever.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, this morning, when I was in the gym, over the radio, they announced that she passed away.
Do you think that King Charles now will do a good job?
You know what? I was hoping that they'd bypass Charles and go straight to William.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a King William.
Uh-huh.
Charles, in my lifetime, I want to see William as king.
Yeah. So, and would you support like Australia becoming a republic now that sort of the Queen's died? No.
I like the royal family.
Yeah.
You know, it's just tradition.
Yeah.
It's not tradition.
Yeah.
There we go. You're still with us here on 6 News and Stuart's still with us as someone decides to kindly go in front of our pooled camera shot, which is nice of them. We don't control that shot, might I add. We are expecting, I should repeat that, and you've been seeing it on the strap there. God, they won't get out of the way, will they? As I've been saying, as you've been seeing on the strap there, Governor-General David Hurley will be addressing the nation shortly. I think we heard a bit from him earlier via a statement, but of course an address to the nation will be a huge thing for someone who's meant to represent the Queen or now represent the King. Stuart, legal-wise, we're going to have a few changes. Queen's Counsel going to have to switch out a word there, aren't we? And I think we saw that with the Attorney General tonight.
Yes, that changed automatically, basically, in the same sense that the Navy, for example, was Her Majesty's Australian ship, and now it's become His Majesty. It was an automatic transition. Other things are going to have to be done manually, taking your oaths and stuff, and the like. But certainly, when you said the example of Queen's Counsel becoming King's Counsel, that sort of stuff happens automatically. Yeah.
And I know the Attorney General, who has it in his Twitter handle, had to change it, and he lost the blue tick because of it. I wonder if someone's taken his old handle, which should be interesting. Not that I'm necessarily supporting doing that. Stuart, I take into account this isn't 100% legal advice, but I was going to say, would there be a legal requirement to change a Twitter handle that included QC in it?
No, because it doesn't have any legal authority in Twitter handle. Like he probably should change it because he's in government, but there's
Attorney General too. That's kind of a position where you want to change it. Yeah.
Yes.
But there goes the blue tick. I'm sure he'll get it back. If not, people who impersonate him, the misinformation cycle never ends. We are also having to have some things with our coins now. Obviously, we're not going to... The coins and the notes with the Queen on them are not going to become non-legal currency. It's still the same. It's not going to be rare either. There's billions of these things. But there's going to have to be, some kind of change there. We really are going to see these little changes from her to him, from Queen to King, from her face to his face. These are going to really pop up in the next few months.
Yes, well, you mentioned the coins, of course, and not only that, not only will we see a change, a new face on the coins, but also King Charles's face will go the opposite direction to Queen Elizabeth's. Because that's how the coins work. Is it will face the alternate direction? I'm pretty sure. So you'll also see that on the coins as well.
That's actually really interesting. I had no idea about that. That's a fun fact. But yeah, look, we'll have to wait and see. I am truly intrigued to see what they'll look like. Purely just for the novelty perspective here. I don't exactly think they have any special worth, but nevertheless, we'll see how it goes. Again, might I add to just our viewers waiting, we are still expecting Governor-General David Hurley addressing the nation very shortly. We are still expecting him. Bear with us. In the meantime, you can check out an obituary on the Queen on our special 9 a.m. Eastern Bulletin, also available on our YouTube channel right now, or head to our website, sixnewsau.com. Stuart, now, you do Commonwealth Knowledge every Saturday on sixnewsau.com. Bit of a late change, though, in terms of what we might have to cover this week, eh?
Yes, the plan was to look at the Chilean constitution and build on that to look at how democratic the process was behind creating Australia's. But of course, that's now changed because unfortunately because of the Queen passing away. So
Yeah,
that one maybe moved to the
inconvenient
middle of
circumstances.
yes. Well, I'd say a bit more than inconvenient.
Mhm.
That's been moved to the middle of next week. So tomorrow's article will look at what the Crown means and in terms of what the Crown's role is in the government and how the Australian Crown is separate from the British Crown because they are no longer the same Crown. So King Charles will be Queen of the UK. Sorry, will be King of the UK and King. I'm doing it now as well. He'll be King of the UK and King of Australia. Two separate titles.
Mm. And we have to remember there. People say, I've seen people say it, in a joking manner. People say, sarcastically, but no, officially he is King of Australia, and the Queen was Queen of Australia. These are official titles in use here, regardless of how we might call them. Most people just say Queen of England, UK Queen, British Queen, Queen of Britain, etc., etc. No one really thinks about little old Canada or little old Australia.
Well, even that, she's not Queen of England. She's Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Yes, that's
she's
the
not
technical
Queen of
term.
England. As of the Act of Union of 1707, England and Scotland's crowns merged, and she became, and she would have been the Queen of the United Kingdom of England and Scotland. So it's isn't even the Queen of England. It's terminology, but it is something to point out.
Yeah, and also I would mention there that just half off topic, but I saw the bio of Liz Truss was updated, and she went full with the full labels there. Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and then something like member of leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party, which is their official name, or something like that. But full out with the technicalities there. We could easily go on about UK politics for a while, I'm sure. For good measure too, might I add. There, it's an interesting it's an interesting topic, and one that we could go on about for a long time. But Stuart, we are, as I mentioned, just still waiting on the Governor General. Do you reckon he'd be speaking for long, or do you reckon it might be a short address? I note it was scheduled for 6:55, taking into account 7 p.m. News ABC, public broadcast. I don't know, but, what do you think? I'm expecting a short address.
Yes, I don't think it'll be a long address. Not at this point in time. Not when we still don't have the full information out about all the details, and I don't know when we're going to get those. But certainly, we'll be seeing longer addresses that come. But right now, of course, as the Governor General, David Hurley is expected to do some sort of speech like this, and to commemorate the fact that we now have a new monarch.
Well, look, we do hope it's soon that he actually comes out, because I haven't slept, so it'd be nice if he got this out of the way, but we will stay with him here because we just want to keep monitoring this story. It is approaching 6:55, about 6:53 right now. Still, before we let you go, is there any other points you think should be brought up regarding this? Because there is a lot that could be covered here. It is such an historic day, and by the way, based on possible Republican movement trends in Australia, and the fact that we now have a king, the next in line would be a king, and the next in line after that would be a king, we might have just seen our last ever Queen of Australia.
Well, yeah, certainly for a very long time, if the Republican movement is unsuccessful, certainly that'd be the case. Definitely kings for the next, I want to say, 50-odd years at least, given Charles's age, of course.
Yeah, Charles might have 5-odd years, William get a bit longer, and then George. I mean, that's, pending.
And he's
something
still quite
awful.
young.
Yeah.
He's still in primary school, so...
Yeah, pending some awful circumstances, I don't think they're exactly gone anywhere.
I wouldn't say so. Not for a fair while, of course. Yes.
Stuart, we will leave it there. Thank you very much, and we're going to stay with the situation as it comes to hand, as we wait for Governor General David Hurley. With Stuart Jeffrey, we'll have that Commonwealth Knowledge piece out tomorrow night on sixnewsau.com. Thanks very much, mate.
Thank you.
Stuart Jeffrey there, 6 News contributor. Again, check out his great pieces on our website, sixnewsau.com. Highly encourage you to do so. They are absolutely worth it. Well, the Governor General is just about to speak. We're going to bring you that address in just a moment, so bear with us for a second as we bring this to you. But certainly looks like he is speaking now. So just give us a moment as we bring this to you on this pretty historic day. It's not even been 24 hours since the Queen actually died, which is a bit wild to think about when you think about how much has happened and how much has been said since then. So yeah, let's go head over to Governor General David Hurley. Let's just bring that up for you when we can. This is the benefit of it being self-produced. But yeah, let's bring in Governor General David Hurley. He is again speaking live, or not live. He's giving an address to the nation about what has happened with the death of the Queen of England, or Great Britain of Australia, Queen Elizabeth. Let's have a listen.
Today we mourn the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The news of her passing, while we knew it to be inevitable, has still shocked, prompted reflection, and an outpouring of affection. What is clear is that even though her life has ended, her example to us all has not. That example of selfless service, devotion to duty, and compassion for others is both an enduring legacy and a gift to us all. Her Majesty was also a mother, grandmother and great-grandmother. Our sympathies are with His Majesty and the royal family. When my phone rang at 1:38 in Adelaide this morning, I had a sense it was news that I desperately did not want to hear. Since then, millions of Australians, and indeed billions of people around the world, have been reflecting on Her Majesty's remarkable reign. In their reflections, many have recalled Her Majesty's own words and the seemingly impossible standard she set for herself almost 70 years ago at her coronation, when she said, "I have in sincerity pledged myself to your service, as so many of you are pledged to mine. Throughout all my life and with all my heart, I shall strive to be worthy of your trust." There can be no doubt that she met that commitment. Others have recalled a meeting or the recollection of a family member from one of her 16 visits to Australia. I remember my mother telling me about how she held me up as a baby as Her Majesty's motorcade passed by in 1954. Others have recalled a moment, an image or impression, perhaps one that showed Her Majesty's warmth. I will always treasure Linda's and my last call with Her Majesty when we introduced the 4 Australians of the Year for 2022. She was warm, funny and sincere in her interest in their work and our country. What I have observed from the reaction of Australians is there is no single quote, or memory, or moment that can define Her Majesty. All are apt, all are special. They are both individual and collectively the memories of an entire nation. Her Majesty had a special bond with Australia and admired our easygoing approach to life and sense of humour. Her visits and messages of support in good times and in difficult, sometimes tragic times have been well received. When Linda and I spoke with Her Majesty following the death of Prince Philip, the first thing she inquired about was the welfare of Australians, particularly Western Australians impacted by tropical cyclone Saroja. She was mourning the death of her husband of 73 years, yet her first question was to know how Australians in need were faring. Her care and compassion was sincere. Her Majesty shared Australia's growth and change during her reign. Throughout all of this, Her Majesty respected the will of the Australian people. She understood that we are our own people and that we control our destiny. For many of us, Her Majesty's presence in our lives provided a source of comfort and reassurance. She was a constant in our lives, a symbol of stability, inspiration, and servant leadership. We have respected her and we have loved her. That love was evident in Australia and across the Commonwealth as we celebrated Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee. At the National Service of Thanksgiving, held at St Paul's Cathedral in London in June, a passage from Philippians was read, which concluded with these words: "If there is any excellence, and if there is anything of praise, think about these things." There was certainly excellence and much cause to praise in Her Majesty's life. She consistently demonstrated tireless and selfless service, devotion to duty, and a compassion for others. These are values to which we all should aspire and hope to meet. They are as relevant today as they were 70 years ago. They will be as relevant in 70 years' time as they are today. That is her legacy, and that is her enduring gift to us all. I am proud to have lived in the second Elizabethan age. Her legacy will be profound. History will remember few like Queen Elizabeth II. We mourn her passing. We are grateful that we have witnessed and benefited from her remarkable life. May she rest in peace.
There we go, that was the Governor-General David Hurley just speaking there, addressing the nation on, of course, the death of Queen Elizabeth II, which of course happened overnight, aged 96, an historic event that happened as we've been covering for you all day today here on 6 News, and it does require that amount of coverage because it is just extraordinary what has happened, and definitely something, while everyone of course knew it was inevitable at some point, many just did not imagine it happening, and that's for a variety of reasons, but purely because she had just been there for so long. So we appreciate you sticking with us for our coverage this evening, for our coverage right throughout the day. Sincerely appreciate it. You've been watching 6 News as we look back at the life of Queen Elizabeth II. I remind you, any more coverage is on our website, sixnewsau.com, on social media at 6newsau, or you can check out our other broadcasts and bulletins right here on YouTube, including a look at how 12 media outlets right across the world broke the news overnight. For now, though, as we've done in previous broadcasts, today we're going to leave you with God Save the Queen. I'm Leonardo Puglisi. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Voice, but beneath the composure and